Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome into the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. It's officially training camp, my first time doing sports call while we're actually in training camp. It's so exciting to finally be out there in Latrobe and see this 2025 Steelers team in action. Of course, we saw a little bit at OTAs and minicamp, but it was the first time we really got to see Aaron Rodgers play with this group of guys in the black and gold, and it's just been really fun to watch. Obviously, pads not going on till Tuesday, so a lot of this is, you know, take it with a grain of salt, but just very exciting to be out there. Vibes are high. It was a very hot one out there today. I'm joined alongside Brian Bacco, who was out there today. And Brian, I was told, you know, Richie was out there earlier and was saying that Tomlin cut the practice short. It was only an hour long, but just, yeah, how hot was it actually out there today? And what did you see out there today from the guys?
Yeah, it was definitely hot, Cassidy, definitely humid, but storm clouds were hovering over, and Mike Tomlin, or more accurate, people who report to Mike Tomlin were watching the Doppler radar and said that it looked like the skies were about to open up over Chuck Knoll Field at St. Vincent College. So yes, they probably skipped the last period or two or three of their practice. These first 4 days are really, you know, their acclimation process practices. They'll put the pads on Tuesday, so you're not losing quite as much. But yeah, I mean, it was muggy, and it was not for the faint of heart. You know, there was even some fans struggling with heat on the sidelines. But Mike Tomlin, that's what he wants. He wants this to help build the team, because how are you going to think? How are you going to react? How are you going to respond? Are you going to remember your assignments when you're also sweating through your clothes at 1:55 until about 3:55?
Yeah, he says it's a mental game, kind of like Ed Ogeron with that, you know, become friends with the sun. I think he calls him, Coach O calls him Ray Baker, and he tries to befriend the sun. Tomlin very much that same way. You know, early assessment, obviously, like we said, 3 days in, but just what have you seen so far from Aaron Rodgers? Obviously, just that ongoing saga all off season. Will he, won't he? Now he's here. He's signed, contract is signed. He's out at practice. Just your early assessment on how he's meshing with this offense, but also with this quarterback group and the guys. I mean, we also heard that he's rooming with DK Metcalf right now over at camp. So I think that's definitely going to help with the camaraderie and the chemistry between those guys. But just what's your early assessment on Aaron Rodgers so far?
Yeah, Mike Tomlin made it clear yesterday that was no coincidence, and his strategery paid off today when Aaron Rodgers did hit DK Metcalf on a 2-yard touchdown when they go to their 7 shots drill, which is essentially a goal line or 2-point conversion drill. Yeah, I mean, it's not just Rodgers. We've been eagerly awaiting to see all the new faces on this team, because it is kind of like an AAU squad. You know, a bunch of people, just throw them some Steelers jerseys, roll the ball out. It's like a Madden franchise mode team put together, or your favorite fantasy football draft coming to life with Rodgers, DK Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay.
Kenneth Gainwell. You can't forget about Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah, Kenny Gainwell from the Eagles, another guy with a Super Bowl ring. So, yeah, I mean, obviously just so many outside acquisitions that are going to play major roles for this team. And I think so far the big questions that have been answered, yeah, I mean, Jalen Ramsey looks like he's going to play the lion's share of his snaps as a slot corner, and then they'll move him around from there. And DK Metcalf, obviously the number one, but the guy that you heard Richie doing the feature on before we came on the air was Calvin Austin. I think is that number 2, but Roman Wilson has put himself in the mix as well.
Yeah, and we got a chance to talk to Jalen Ramsey on move-in day, and you know, he was asked about his versatility at corner and how that benefits him, and he really just said, look, man, in the past, I've just kind of track guys. Like, whoever's the best guy out there, he gets put on his assignment and he tracks him, and that's what his job is. Do you see that kind of being a similar situation here, or is it going to be more like, hey, this is your assignment regardless of who's on the other side?
I think it's going to depend on the opponent and depend on the game plan in an individual week. They're just happy to have him here and can look at him as that ultimate chess piece, almost a positionless player. I mean, Mike Tomlin spoke about that on Wednesday on Report Day, and then some of us were chatting with a guy that I neglected to mention and shouldn't have, new tight end Jonnu Smith, who was a Pro Bowler last year with the Dolphins. I guess he slipped my mind because he hasn't practiced the first 2 days. He's dealing with some sort of minor, Mike Tomlin says, day-to-day issue, but he played with Ramsey last year on the Fins and said if you asked him right now, his position is just DEF, defense. He's going to be somewhere out there, whether that's nickel corner, kind of floating around in the interior, or even back as a safety. I think that's what's got Mike Tomlin, all giddy about the team that he's assembled is, the ability to position number 5 wherever they see fit in a given week.
Yeah, and as Tomlin always says, iron sharpens iron, and I do think having DK go up against Jalen Ramsey in practice every day is going to be great, and those two guys are going to have some fun battles for all of us to watch. But all right, guys, we're going to head to our first break. Just a reminder, too, tap your phone up there, scan the QR code. Did the Steelers make enough moves to have their first playoff win? So go ahead, or KDKA.com/connect. You can vote there. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. This is your Xfinity tweet of the night. The Steelers have signed former Ravens starting safety Chuck Clark. We know him well here in Pittsburgh, and he adds to the secondary for the Steelers. Kind of a surprising move, I think, with having brought in so many guys in that secondary, in that DB group throughout this offseason to add another safety. But hey, you got to fill that hole that Minkah leaves, in that Dolphins trade. So just, Bri, what are your first thoughts on Chuck Clark coming?
Yeah, a little bit bigger name than I expected, given all his years of starting experience for the Ravens, and he actually started 12 games last year for the Jets when he wasn't dealing with an ankle sprain. So, yeah, I mean, he's another 30-year-old player added to this roster and more specifically this defense. If nothing else, this Steelers team in 2025 is going to have a lot of really good credit scores across the board. These guys are experienced, all right? They've made a lot of money in the league. Whether they can still run around and play, that's what remains to be seen. But, yeah, I don't know if Chuck Clark's even going to be in the picture at the end of the day. He could just be here for camp competition with Juan Thornhill, another outside free agent who has a Super Bowl ring to his name. Basically had to slide up into a bigger piece of the puzzle when Minkah Fitzpatrick was traded for Jalen Ramsey. So I assume Chuck Clark came highly recommended by the other former Ravens on this team, Deshaun Elliott, Patrick Queen, and we'll see what he provides in this secondary. Yeah,
I'm also not mad about us cherry picking from, other AFC North teams. It's nice. Let's take their assets. Kind of going off Chuck Clark, though, we're going to get out to the phone lines. We do have Dave in Munhall who wants to talk about Chuck Clark. Dave, what's going on?
Yeah, I think Chuck Clark is going to be a huge, strong safety. He won't be a free safety type guy, but he's going to sneak up to the line of scrimmage and snuff out a lot of the running games that's been killing us.
Yeah, I mean, that would be ideal if he could step up and do that. I know that's one thing a lot of people were, for lack of a better word, I guess, kind of complaining about with Minkah last year. He was a little quiet last year, and maybe Chuck Clark can come in and disrupt the run game like Steelers fans want to see.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, I think Deshaun Elliott's kind of cemented himself as that guy, and he got the contract extension this offseason because of what he can do to help against the run. But, yeah, I mean, Chuck Clark has played free safety. He's played, quote-unquote, strong safety. Sometimes people will tell you it's interchangeable with the Steelers, but it really depends on the package they're in, the play call they have in for the defense. And, I think if they need somebody to kind of stand back there and keep a lid on it in center field, Juan Thornhill can do that, but if he were to go down with injury, there's not too many guys behind him who also have that level of experience. Yeah,
and again, it helps they have the early camaraderie like Deshaun Elliott, that familiarity, not camaraderie, but familiarity with each other in that position group. But guys, just a reminder too, Penn West University, our question of the night, tap your phone up there, scan the QR code. Did the Steelers make enough moves to win a playoff game this season? I know we're all waiting anxiously to see a playoff win here in Pittsburgh. So let us know if you think they're going to do it this year or if it's just going to be another one game above 500 season. So we'll see. All right, Gary in Elizabeth. Gary wants to talk about Jonnu Smith. What's going on?
Yeah, my question is that Smith from Miami. He he'll help the Steelers as a wide receiver. He's a tight end that can play outside the numbers, right?
Yeah. I mean, and we've been told that time and time again. I think part of the reason we've been told that is because there's still question marks in that wide receiver room. But he had just such a breakout season in Miami last year. And I think it was 8 touchdowns, 800 yards. And so, I mean, I do think he could step up and kind of fill that hole. But I don't think the Steelers are done yet. I think, I'm surprised Alan Lazard is not here yet. I wouldn't be shocked if, he ends up here in the next month or so. But I mean, Brian, what do you think about it? Obviously, I think Jonnu Smith is going to come in and play a big role in this receiver room.
Yeah, Gary, I mean, much like, Jalen Ramsey being kind of positionless on defense, I think they see Jonnu Smith much the same way on offense. He has lined up a lot as a wide receiver. So, you can look at flexing him out wide, put him in the slot, obviously in line at tight end, fullback. He was joking yesterday. He said the only place he hasn't really scored a touchdown from in the NFL is quarterback. So he'll be in his old buddy Arthur Smith's ear to maybe give him some wildcat snaps under center. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers would take too kindly to that, but I appreciate Jonnu Smith's emphasis on his own versatility. They just got to get him out on the practice field now. And, it's not, again, they're not missing too much with these football and shorts practices. But as for that receiver position, Omar Khan said Wednesday he feels really good about all the moves he made. And obviously it was a busy offseason. He had to be wiping his brow a little bit by the time he got done with that Minka for Jalen Ramsey deal. However, he said that, and then a couple days later he goes out and signs Chuck Clark, a name that a lot of people know. So I guess you can't ever count out Omar.
Yeah, I do agree with you there. And I think, too, with going back to Jonnu Smith, I think it helps, too, that him and Arthur Smith also have a lot of familiarity there. I will not be shocked if Jonnu Smith maybe finishes this season with the second or third highest touches on the offensive side. I mean, it would not shock me. I mean, Pat Freiermuth last year, I'm pretty sure he finished with the second, right? Or maybe third. But
yeah, I mean, you're going to have DK Metcalf out there.
Yeah.
He's going to need to get his targets.
Well, yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if Freiermuth and Smith are, neck and neck to have that, second most target share on the team. But this is also an offense that wants to run the ball a lot. We know that. Jalen Warren is elevated to the number one guy, at least on paper. And Caleb Johnson, the third-round rookie from Iowa, he has looked impressive thus far in a very small sample size and without pads on. Tough to evaluate running backs. But he gets to that second level very quickly. And, he's a sleek 224 pounds, which he's listed at. He's not as bulky as Najee Harris was listed at. Slightly heavier than that. So Caleb Johnson opening some eyes through 2 days.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I remember that first practice yesterday, seeing that breakout run by him. It was just so impressive. I think why he stands out, too, is maybe he does have a little more of that size that Jalen, he's taller and, like you said, a little bit lengthier and can kind of wiggle through some gaps.
Yeah, he got a couple passes out of the backfield today, too, which
is,
you always want to see if rookies can translate to that area of the game.
Yeah, that's huge. Again, with the versatility. All right, Jim in Peters Township. Jim wants to talk about playoffs.
Yeah, they won't make the playoffs, no way. I'll tell you the reason why. The running game won't be as good. Their offensive line is not going to help them any. No, they didn't. No, I don't see any chance they make the playoffs.
Jim Mora?
They're one and done.
I know, right? Is this Jim Mora on the phone? Playoffs?
I just don't see it. I mean, they're not going to be able to run the ball. And they got one good receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still a big question mark on whether they're going to be able to run the ball. I do think this offensive line, look, we haven't seen this offensive line. They put so much into building this offensive line in last year's draft, and we haven't really seen the full production and the capability that it could be because of all the injuries from last season. So going into the season, I don't want to curse them, but as of right now, it seems like this is going to be the healthiest front line that we've had yet since rebuilding it. So I'm very excited to see how they'll do. What does kind of concern me is the depth on that O-line. I mean, we saw what happened last year when Troy went down, Broderick got moved. They don't have a whole lot of depth there, but if these guys can stay healthy, I really do think that they'll be able to run the ball. I do, and especially if Caleb Johnson lives up to the hype.
To borrow another Jim Mora phrase, we haven't seen this tackle tandem do diddly poo yet in the NFL with Broderick Jones at left tackle and Troy Fautanu at right. I hear where Jim's coming from here, our caller Jim, not Jim Mora. I mean, we need to see this unit. I mean, Zach Frazier was moving people around last year as a rookie. I don't think you have to worry about him. But Mason McCormick is a second-year, fourth-round pick. He's got some stuff to prove. Isaac Seumalo dealing with a soft tissue injury is all we know. You never want to hear about that with a lineman in his 30s. So, I mean, they've got to get him healthy. And again, it comes down to those bookends. Are they going to be able to protect Aaron Rodgers? Are they going to be able to move people in the run game? They've invested a lot. It still remains to be seen if that physical edge is going to be brought by this unit. I could see it going either way. I don't want to write them off the way Jim seems to be doing, but I also think it's a leap of faith for those who think they're going to be setting the tone and breaking people's will with their offensive line.
Yeah, definitely a lot still remains to be seen. Guys, we're going to head to our last break. Give us a call, 412-575-2600. We'll be right back after this. All right, guys, we're going to hit one more caller before we go. We have Mike in North Hills who wants to talk about Tomlin. Mike, what's going on?
Yes, hello, Cassidy. I would like to get your opinion. Is this a do-or-die season for Tomlin? I'll let you finish.
I mean, look, that's a very good question. And I go back and forth on it all the time, honestly. I thought maybe last season he would be a little bit on the hot seat. But, you know, I think he's just been around for so long that it would have to be like a colossal mess up for something to happen where he gets fired. It would have to be a colossal mess up, I think, at this point.
My answer, Mike, would be no. I don't think there's any do or die, hot seat type of pressure on him that way. I just don't think that's how the Rooneys operate or ever will operate with regard to Mike Tomlin. I think he's got more runway than this, but I guess I could, see him at some point. He might decide that he's had enough, and I don't know if that'll be after this year if it goes poorly. Only he knows.
I mean, and I even think if it goes poorly, they're going into the season with kind of those expectations. Not that it'll go poorly, but I think their ceiling is very high and their floor is very low. They're just kind of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks right now because they do have those 10 to 12 picks in next year's draft. So if it goes poorly, they can just rebuild.
Hey, roll the ball out there and see what this assembled team can do.
Exactly. Brian, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday night, and I'll see you same place, same time tomorrow night.